Okay, here we go. All right. I think we're ready for some stitches. So what we're going to do is I tried to varnish the edge. What that does is that tightens up this end grain, makes it smooth, takes all the hairs off of it. So you can use a varnishing stick or a piece of bone, deer antler. All right, I varnished on this thing a little bit. You can varnish this. What varnishing does, it tightens up this end grain, smooths it out, makes it all even. Takes all the hairs off of it. There'll be a few here and there, but that's just part of it. I need to look. I'm not a professional, all I do leather worker. There's people out there that this is all they do. They make some of the finest leather goods known. That is their craft. And by no means am I a master leather worker. But I try to make a sheath for my knives that is sturdy, looks good, and will hold up and stand the test of time. That's what I do. They're meant to be used. They're not showpieces. So, with that said, I varnished it some. I'm having trouble with my buffer. That's what I usually use, is my high-speed buffer. It usually does a good job. You can use wood, bone, whatever you would like to use. But yeah, that's what I use. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay off the stitching with a stitching wheel. And all this wheel does, you can get different spacings of wheels. That's what this tool is. It's got a little wheel on it that has spurs on it, and you can get bigger wheels with the spurs spaced wider so you can space your stitching wider. This is just kind of in the middle. So I started at the end here, and I will take my tool that I make my stitch hole with right here. This is a stitch tool that you can get 2 or 3 stitch prongs on it at a time where you can stitch multiple holes at once. I choose to use the single one. What I'll do is I'll determine where I want my first stitch. And it's usually up here pretty close, but not right dead on the edge, but come back about 1/8 of an inch. And I usually set it about right there. And I'll tap, just give it a tap. Okay. Excuse me, that's where I'll start my stitch wheel. So I'll find one of these points on this stitch wheel and I'll lay it in there. And all I do is press down and follow that groove with this stitch wheel, okay? I come around, I turn it, and I follow that groove all the way to the end. What that's doing is it's making an impression on that leather where I want my stitches. Just run it right on off the edge, just like that. And I'll do it probably twice. What that does, that gives me a guide to go by to lay my stitch holes in with. I do it different than everybody else, or a lot of people, but it still works the same. The only difference is I normally use a drill press and a real small bit. I will lay it off with my layoff tool, then I'll take a drill press and I'll go through there and I'll drill all them holes out. Clean, done. I'll put a block of wood underneath of it and just drill into the wood, keeping it nice and flat. That usually comes out in this other groove. Every once in a while it'll get out of the groove, but I'll go back and fix it. Anyway, once I've established where all my holes are at, I have a piece of UHMW, basically plastic, that I'll lay underneath of that sheath. Right here, that's all it is. Just a piece of butcher block plastic. It's called UHMW. It's real heavy and dense, but it's not granite or marble. And I'll lay that sheath on there, okay? What that's going to allow me to do is allow me to drive my tool through that leather, okay, without harming the tool that you're using. And I'll go through here and I'll just follow that stitch pattern, just like so. Now you can see why people use multiple punch heads with 3 or 4 different punch heads spaced out so they can do multiple holes at once. Me, I'm not in that big of a hurry, so. But when I'm making 117 plus sheaths, I use a drill press. Okay. And we'll just follow this all the way down the sheath. So, you get the gist of what I'm doing. So I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to finish these. We'll flip it over. We'll mark it. And do the same thing on the other side. Then we'll take this awl, which is actually a threading tool that they make for leather, which I don't use. But what I use this for is I use this for finishing up the hole. Okay. See that come through the other side right there? Now I've got a hole all the way through that sheath that I can go by to start the other side with. And when I get done, all these holes will line up. So, let me finish up these starter holes and I'll bring you back. All right. I went ahead and finished the stitch holes. There's a row of stitch holes. Same width as that wheel. All the way down through there and all the way on the other side. What I did is I broke my awl because I hit something hard with it. And yeah, right there, broke it clean off. So I'll have to get a replacement tip for that. Which is no big deal. I break them, you'll break them all the time. A little bit of a bind or something like that. They'll break. It happens. Anyway, I'll take a pair of pliers and pull the old one out and get me another one. Okay, so what I'll normally do now to get the stitch holes in it is I will take and pull me off some waxed leather thread. I like black. You can buy this in 500 foot, 1,000 foot. So I'll normally pull off 6 feet, depending on the sheath. I don't really measure it. There's really no formula to go by. Well, that's why a lot of people run 2 threads off of each spool. They have 2 spools and they'll cross stitch it, double stitch it. I do the same thing. I just run one side, then I'll run the other. So I'll make it long enough to go up one side, probably 4 times the length of the sheath. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll duplicate that. I usually end up with just a little bit more thread than what I need. but I'd rather have a little bit more than not enough. Okay. Get to where I want to be. I'll just cut that off. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll pick me out a needle, one that I use all the time. It should fit the holes pretty good. It's a little big. A little bit different one. Let's see what we got going on here. That'll work. I'll start that thread through that needle. And these are pretty big needles, so they're really not that hard to start. Of course, I say that now. My eyesight's not what it used to be honest. Sometimes you have to take a razor blade, cut the end off, start over. Okay. Try it again. There it goes. And I'll run it through a couple inches and fold it over. Probably 2.5, 3 inches. Now, what I usually do is I'll start my stitching down here and I'll end it up here. Okay, what that's going to allow me to do is tie that knot off on the back side, trim it, flatten it, and glue it in place. So I don't want the end or the knot down here. I want it up here on the back side. So I'll start down here. And I'll start that needle through there. And sometimes it helps to have a pair of pliers handy. Especially when you're pulling through, and it can be difficult. So what I do is I run it through there until I'm even with the other end of the line, or the other end of the thread, about like so. And that way I know I got plenty of thread to work with. Now some guys will have a leather holder. It's just a clamp. That's all it is. Me, I prefer to hold it in my hand. So I went through. Now I'm going to go up to the next hole. Feed it through that one. Pull it out. Run it down. Make sure my thread's not in there. You're not going to be able to pull it real tight right now, but you can give it a little bit of a tug. Go to the next hole on the back side. Stick it through. This is just the first part of the double stitch. Feed it through. Go to the next hole. Feed it through. So it's just a process. It's a process. And then I'll go to the next hole on this side, feed it through. And I'll do this all the way up the sheath till I get to the end. Once you get 5 or 6 stitches in there, you can start pulling on it. See, them threads are down below the face of the leather. There's no way for the threads to get damaged. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish stitching this side, and then I'll bring you back and we'll start the other side. Just remember, go through on one side, pull it out, pull it out, go to the next hole up. Just like so. Well, I decided to bring y'all back. I know I don't want to make a long video, but I think you need to see some of this stuff. There's no sense in me doing this without y'all watching it. You know, I have an internal conflict with video time. You know, there's just some things you can't put a time limit on. I'm sorry. You know, some things you just got to see. Yeah, I could sit here and stitch this sheath up and then bring it back and say, voila. But you're not going to see the issues that I run into. You're not going to see some of the problems I'm going to face or you'll face when you do this. So, you know, why not share them? Why not let y'all see what I have problems with so you can avoid them? There's a couple places where I run out here. I had to correct the stitching. All I'm doing is just going in like this, all the way up to the end. Then I'll take this other tag and do the opposite. It's double stitched. Thread goes through the same hole both directions. So, yes, I could do this with 2 needles. See that? You see how that came way off right there and came out near the edge? So I got to back that needle up into that groove. This is one of the issues that you'll run into sometimes when you're hand stitching. It's just part of it. So what you got to do is you just got to find that groove. And I normally try to do that by coming back through the other way. Right there it is. Let me pull that needle. See? This is why I brought y'all back. So you can see some of these problems. This is not always perfect. Not even for me. So don't think by no means that, oh, well, that guy is just awesome. No. I have my problems too, just like everybody else. Am I on the right one? Yes. I have issues just like everybody else has issues. Don't think that I don't, because I do. There it is right there. I'm not perfect. I don't let it beat me. It's hand done. It's not going to be, it's not going to look like a machine done it, okay? So, you know, there's a misconception here. Well, machines, they do precise, repetitious work. If that's what you want, by all means, buy you a store-bought sheath. It's all the stitching's perfect on it. You know, I'm happy for you. I hope it works out. But I guarantee you, the stitches aren't going to be as tight as these stitches. Will it look neat or something? Yeah. I guarantee you it'll probably look a little neater. But you could tell a machine done it. Now, there are people out there that can do this by hand, and it looks like a machine done it. They're that good. Me, I want it to be sturdy. I want it to hold up. I want it to last. But I'd like it to look good too. You always take pride in what you do. Always. No matter what you do, you always want to do the best you can, make it look as good as you can. And that comes with doing it. So you got to remember, all this stuff's been in storage for almost 2 years. And I've been sitting here itching to get back at it. And this is the first sheath I've made in almost 2 years. So there's going to be a little rust. There's going to be times when I'll have to sit and think about it before I do it. Getting back in the groove. It's See, we're coming to the end and I have that much line left. So I over pulled the amount of line that I'd need, but that's okay. I would rather have too much and not enough. Now I know that this sheath does not carry on the belt loop. It's basically what I call a backpack sheath, okay? And backpack sheath goes in the backpack, of course. So, I don't have to worry about what side do I want the end of the stitch to come out on. However, I will tell you this. If you was to ever, the young man that's going to own this, was to ever decide that he wanted to turn this into a carrying sheath, I can always come back and stitch him on a belt loop right here, okay? I could just come in here and cut these stitches out, take a razor blade, cut this sheath open, stitch him a belt loop on here, and then reclose this, glue it, and then restitch it. Can always do that. All right, I'm here at the end. So what I'm going to do is leave about 3 inches to tie your knots with. Cut that off, save that line. You'll end up with that tag right there, stitched all the way up just on one side. Here's the other side. Give it a nice tug that tightens up the stitches. And then you'll take your needle and work it up the other side. Going back through the same holes you went through. It's just the double stitch side. Feed about 2.5, 3 inches of line through there. All right, now you've already come through this side. You're going to go up to the hole with the thread in it right here. And you're going to go right back in there. Just like so. This one can be a little tough because it's tight because it's got thread in the hole already, okay? Which is okay. That's what you got the pliers for. Take them pliers and help you pull it through that hole in leather. Just like so. All the way up the sheath. Yes, it can get tight. That's the wax. That wax actually helps keep that stitching tight in that sheath. Guarantee you this will never come apart. You won't never have to worry about that. It's waterproof. You can carry it in the mountains, the snow, the rain. All he's got to do is put a little conditioner on it now and again, like you do anything else made out of leather. And it'll last a long, long time. And if he ever needs it repaired for any reason, I'd be more than happy to repair it for him. As you can see, it does take a considerable amount of time. So I'm going to get off here and I'm going to let y'all come back after I get up here and I'll show you how to tie the knot. We'll flatten the laces and we'll put a finish on it. Okay, all right, I got it stitched. It's double stitched like this, okay? Up one side, up the other. Turned out pretty good. I got both stitches on the inside if it was a right hand carry, which most people are. So what I'll do now is I got them pulled tight. So I'll go ahead and just do a double overhand knot. We'll go left over right. Cinch it down. Nice and tight. Be careful, this thread will cut your fingers because you're not going to break it. A good double overhead knot. Take your razor blade, come right down here real close and just nip it off. Just like so. Just be careful, don't cut your knot head. And you take you a hammer, go back to a solid surface like this. Needle up. Let's see. I can't remember where I laid stuff. There it is. Now just take your mallet and just tap them threads down. Just like so. All the way down. What this does is this helps fix any blemishes in the stitching. Helps tighten the stitches up. Roll it over. Okay. Make sure you get where you're going to put your glue for your knot. There it is. Now what I'll do is I'll come over here, I'll go upstairs. I'll get me a little super glue and put on that right there. It locks that knot in. And then I'll just apply the finish. I'll bring you right back. Okay. What I'm using here to lock this knot in with is a Loctite 406. Now it don't take much of this stuff. Just a little bit goes a long way, and if you get it on the leather anywhere than what you want it, it will not take a dye. So all I want to do is just basically get a little dab right there, just to lock the thread in. Wipe off that excess. It's all over. There it is. This is stuff you have to keep in the refrigerator or it'll go bad. It's the best. This is the best instant adhesive that I've ever used. I think you have to order that. You can't find that in the regular store anywhere. Anyway, that locked the threads in. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to black this edge out. I want to leave it natural. So that's what I'm going to do. Leave it natural. Let's put some finish on it. Now this is a Febreze leather dye. It's a number 121. It's a medium brown. But you can use whatever color you want. Just remember that if you don't put a pair of leather or rubber gloves on, you will pay the price for it. So I recommend that you get you some rubber gloves. Because when you get this stuff on your hands, it's not going to come off that easy. You pretty much have to wear it off. Especially if you let it set on there. This is not rocket science, putting this here dye on here. It's just making sure you get it on there even. But it looks pretty good once you get it all on there. I like it. Pretty good stuff. Get it down in there real good, down in the stitches. Really makes a big difference. Can't put too much on. I like that dark color. Some people don't like it so dark, but well, you can make it whatever you want. Normally you have an applicator to put this stuff on with, but it's okay if you don't. A rag will work just fine. I think it's going to turn out really nice. I do believe. I do believe. Get it over here where y'all can see what I'm doing. I apologize. I always put a little extra on the stitches. And the edge will take considerable amount, so don't be stingy. It's a little bit pricey, but it's worth it in the long run. Open up that sheath. Take your rubber glove, stick your finger down in there, and just coat that inside real good. As far down in there as you can reach. Yeah, when you get done putting what you want on there, you take your rag. Let me put the lid on this. I don't want to spill it. Just take your rag or a shoe shine brush. You can wipe her real good. I'll give it a little bit of a sheen. Everybody likes a little sheen on their sheath. Give it some highlights here and there. Oh yeah. Make it look like it's been around a while. Had some use. A little distress never hurt anybody, huh? Oh, there's one place right down there that I see I didn't get. And now's a good time to go back and fill them little... The stitching is the toughest part because you gotta make sure that you get all the way, excuse me, down in the, down in the stitching to protect them stitches. And it's easy to see because once you get done, you can look and say, oh, I can see it. You can see down in there where you see raw leather. And you just got to let that stuff drip down in there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. That should work. Put our lid back on there. Puff it back off. And we'll call that a done sheath. Well, there it is. I hope y'all like that. Enjoy it. I think it turned out pretty nice. I bet that knife will fit right down in there just fine all day long. David, I hope your son likes that. I think it turned out awesome. Let me know what you think in the comments. Awesome. I'll get it sharpened up, cleaned up, and shipped out. Y'all have a great day. Early man's out.